Leah's life seemed small, confined to a quiet world of pain and isolation. At 18 years old, she was on the verge of finishing high school, but instead of excitement about graduation, all she felt was dread. While her classmates talked about prom, college applications, and weekend parties, Leah was just trying to survive the day. The few people she had in her life, her overworked mother, who she barely saw, couldn't shield her from the cruelty that awaited her every day at school. She wasn't like the other students. Her clothes were simple, never trendy or expensive. She didn't have the latest phone, or designer sneakers. She was quiet, kept to herself, and didn't fight back when pushed around. And that made her the perfect target. Jason wasn't just another high school bully. He was the golden boy, handsome, charming, and the son of a powerful businessman with deep connections in the community. He could do no wrong. No one dared to stand up to him. Teachers turned a blind eye, students laughed along, and anyone who crossed him paid the price. For reasons Leah couldn't understand, Jason had decided she would be his target. It started small, cruel jokes, whispered insults as she walked past, an occasional shove. But things escalated quickly, and Leah soon found herself trapped in a nightmare. Jason wasn't alone. He had a gang: Nick, Brandon, Ryan, Leo, Mike, and Justin, each one trying to outdo the other in humiliating Leah. They tripped her in the hallways, laughed when she fell, and spread false rumors. They called her desperate for male attention, and soon, even the girls at school avoided her, afraid of being seen with her. For Leah, it was a never-ending cycle of torment. But Leah's suffering didn't stop with the mental and emotional abuse. One day, she started feeling unwell. It started as a small discomfort, an occasional burning sensation. Then, sores began to appear. The pain grew worse. Leah tried to ignore it, convinced it was stress. But soon, it became clear, something was very wrong. Leah went to the clinic, dreading what the doctor might say. The results were devastating. She tested positive for an incurable STD. She couldn't understand it. She'd never been with anyone. How could this happen? The doctor explained it could be transmitted in other ways, through unsanitary conditions, shared towels, public restrooms. But to Leah, that didn't matter. She had been tortured for a year, and now her life had been ruined beyond repair. She felt like she was living in a nightmare. But instead of letting the pain crush her, something inside Leah shifted. She was done being weak. She was done being a victim. The anger she had buried for so long began to turn into something darker. Revenge. She had suffered enough. Now it was time for them to suffer. Leah no longer cared about being the quiet girl. No more hiding. No more playing it safe. She would show them what it felt like to lose control. This wasn't about just getting back at them, it was about taking back the power they had stolen from her. Leah knew exactly how Jason and his gang operated. They didn't like weak girls. They liked a challenge. And that's exactly what she was now. She began to turn heads, and just like that, they were hooked. Jason's gang, the same boys who had bullied her for so long, were now chasing her. But Leah wasn't giving herself away easily. She played them, one by one, keeping them on the hook, never revealing her true intentions. Nick was the first to fall. It was too easy. He had always been eager to impress Jason. One night, she invited him to an empty classroom. They had their moment, but Leah made sure she gave him exactly what he wanted without protection. After Nick, it was Ryan. Then Brandon. Leo. Mike. Justin. One by one, they all fell into her trap. They thought they were the only ones. They thought they were special. But Leah was sealing their fate. It didn't take long for the boys to realize something was wrong. Nick was the first to show signs, sweating, scratching at his arms. The whispers spread like wildfire. By the time the others went to the doctor, it was too late. Every single one of them had contracted the same incurable STD. Jason, the leader, the untouchable king of the school, was the last to find out. And Leah, she made sure she was there to witness it. The day of reckoning came. Jason, his gang following behind, stormed into the cafeteria, dragging Leah away. His grip on her hair was tight, and his face was contorted in rage. He shouted at her, "You did this to us. You ruined our lives." Leah didn't flinch. She smiled, knowing this was the moment she had waited for. "You ruined me first," she whispered, her voice cold and steady. This was no longer about revenge. It was about the power she had taken back. Jason, in a fit of blind rage, pulled out a knife. The students watched, frozen, as he approached her. Leah didn't beg for her life. She stood her ground. And then, Jason struck. The aftermath was nothing like anyone expected. What started as a brutal high school bullying story ended in a chilling moment of violence. Leah died that day, but her message didn't die with her. Jason, his friends, and everyone who had ever tormented her were left to reckon with the weight of their actions. But this wasn't just a tragic story about one girl's suffering, it was a warning. Jason was arrested immediately. His perfect world, built on power and privilege, came crashing down. But even then, there was no remorse in his eyes. No regret. He only realized one thing: he had underestimated Leah. He had underestimated the quiet girl he thought would never fight back. And in that final moment, she had taken everything from him. The trial was a public spectacle. The bullying, the taunting, and the violence were laid bare for the world to see. Jason and his friends were charged with multiple offenses, including manslaughter, for the death of Leah. But as the case unfolded, something else became clear: the real danger wasn't just the violence itself. It was the way the system had turned a blind eye for so long, allowing this kind of cruelty to go unchecked. In the wake of Leah's death, the community was forced to reckon with the horrors of high school bullying, how easy it was to ignore the signs, to turn a blind eye to the pain of those who suffered in silence. But it was too late for Leah. No one could bring her back. Her mother visited her grave every day, praying for peace, for understanding, for forgiveness. But in the quiet of that cemetery, there were no answers. Leah's death became a turning point for many. It sparked discussions about mental health, bullying, and the need for intervention. Schools began implementing stricter policies. But for some, it was too little, too late. Leah's story was now a cautionary tale, a story of pain, rage, and the consequences of unchecked cruelty. Jason and his friends, once untouchable, now faced the consequences of their actions. But Leah never had the chance to see justice. She never had the chance to live the life she deserved. All that was left was a bitter reminder of what happens when cruelty goes unchecked, and when the quiet voices of the oppressed finally scream out for justice. Leah's life was more than just the victim of her tormentors, it was a life that, in the end, demanded to be seen. And her story, though tragic, serves as a powerful reminder: no one should ever be silenced. No one should ever have to suffer in silence. And sometimes, the quietest voices can have the loudest echoes. Thank you for watching. If you found this story as heartbreaking as we did, Leave a comment below and subscribe for more chilling stories of love, deception, and betrayal. Until next time, stay safe.